Is Rachel Zegler crying as a result of the harsh roast on South Park or the fans' outrage over her contentious Snow White role? Rachel's response has only served to fuel the fire, as South Park didn't hold back in transforming Disney's supposedly woke agenda into their latest target. What was said by South Park that struck such a chord? Why are Disney fans so angry? And Rachel's Snow White portrayal, and is this the worst PR catastrophe Disney has yet to experience? Stay tuned as we dissect it all. With their satirical edge, South Park didn't hold back in their sharp critique of Disney's so-called woke agenda. They aimed directly at the center of the ongoing debate over Disney's modern remakes, and Rachel Zegler, who plays the lead in this contentious reimagining, seems to be at her breaking point after the show released a scathing parody that targeted Disney's most recent adaptation of Snow White. South Park is known for boldly calling out cultural absurdities. According to reports, the incident touched a nerve, and she's not just upset, she's angry at the criticism of the parody itself. South Park's episode into Pandaverse was full of witty banter and astute observations. In keeping with their trademark style, even the title alluded to the mayhem that would ensue. Cartman and other beloved characters were reimagined in South Park. As adult women of color, Stan Butters and Kenny are a clear critique of Disney's recent practice of updating iconic characters to suit contemporary plots. Everything was the target of the unrelenting satire. Disney's remakes have drawn criticism from both fans and critics who see the entertainment behemoth as being tone-deaf to the demands of its audience. Disney's contemporary adaptation of the classic fairy tale Snow White is stirring up more controversy than magic. The casting was the first step of the gifted Latina actress Rachel Zegler, which provoked contentious discussions. Many people felt that Rachel's casting was a drastic departure from the story's origins, because the original Snow White was renowned for having skin as white as snow. However, fans are expressing concerns that Disney's reimagined Snow White has deviated from the classic so much that its nearly unrecognizable key elements, like the iconic romance, have been removed entirely. There is no prince to save the day, and the seven dwarves, they've been written out too, and an entirely different approach has left fans baffled. We have a small individual who has dwarfism, and they are now totally cut. Since this movie is live action and won't use any dwarf actors, we'll have to translate the animation to real people. As for Rachel, she has been making headlines and interviews for all the wrong reasons. Instead of celebrating her role in a beloved story, she has publicly criticized the original story, calling it problematic and outdated. She has also come across as dismissive, even making jokes about apple-flavored snacks on set as if they were a jab at her character. These comments haven't gone over well with fans, many of whom feel that she is disrespecting a story that has held a special place in their hearts for generations. Disney's efforts to retell this fairy tale are already being criticized, and Rachel's behavior is only making matters worse. This is where things get even worse. Fans were left incensed and scratching their heads by Rachel Zegler's remarks regarding the prince. She completely rejected the notion of romance. The tone didn't sit well with audiences, whether she was being playful or not, as she claimed that the story isn't about the love story at all and joked about removing all of the prince's scenes. Many felt that the original fairy tale was being unfairly criticized rather than celebrated by fans, who aren't just upset about the drastic changes, they're frustrated with how the original story is. For instance, the seven dwarves, a key component of the original White that represented connection and community, are presented as archaic or troublesome. Disney did more than simply revise their portrayal. They wiped it out. Many people no longer recognize the story's emotional core, which was centered on Snow White's relationship with these characters. If you're going to watch a generational movie again, this feels more like an attempt to rewrite a classic than a respectful remake. Instead of destroying everything, shouldn't the objective be to respect its legacy? Growing up that this new adaptation regrettably ignores. Additionally, I'm not sure if I or this guy are more excited because of the way he was bouncing, and that despite the fact that the video was completely crazy. Someone asked, who's playing Snow White? Ben or Brett, that joke is so Disney that I'm not even sure if I've heard it before. Is not unfamiliar with this type of dispute. Even though Halle Bailey was cast as Ariel in The Little Mermaid, the film was still able to retain a lot of the original charm and essence that viewers loved. Fans may have disagreed over casting choices for The Little Mermaid, but the same cannot be said for this Snow White remake, leaving viewers to wonder what Disney is actually attempting to accomplish. However, the movie stuck to its main plot. With Disney's Snow White, that isn't the case. Fans feel alienated as a result of the drastic changes to the plot and tone, and many have accused Disney of advancing its own agenda rather than paying tribute to a beloved classic. Interviews with Rachel Zegler haven't been helpful either. South Park saw the perfect storm brewing and jumped right in with their Panda episode after her disparaging remarks about the original story only served to fan the flames and turn what could have been a novel interpretation into a lightning rod for criticism. In addition to parodying the industry, South Park also reversed the idea of gender and race swapping by applying it to their own iconic characters. This was their method of highlighting the ridiculousness of recent Hollywood trends, which, let's face it, took the satire to a whole new level. This episode feels particularly pointed because South Park isn't concerned about hurt feelings. They've targeted innumerable well-known figures in the past. Their scathing humor focused on Disney and the Snow White remake, using comedy to highlight fan annoyances with the studio's direction. Unlike the majority of their parodies, this one went beyond general trends to directly criticize Disney's handling of this specific project. Based on the responses, it resonated with viewers who have grown tired of what they perceive to be needless remakes of timeless tales in which Disney has persisted in its strategy of updating classics with fresh plots and actors, but South Park wasn't going to overlook them. Changing a character's gender or ethnicity in a well-loved story isn't true diversity, especially when it doesn't adhere to the fundamental principles of inclusivity or meaningful representation, as the Panda episode boldly and clearly conveys. When you hear this, Snow White South is the first thing that springs to mind. The main problem for many fans is that Park, who never wanted to delve into cultural or ethnic explorations, used Disney's decisions as a launching pad to criticize what they're doing in the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Being true to oneself is more important than being inclusive. Of the first narratives, the part Rachel Zegler has played in all of this hasn't made things any easier rather than honoring her part in a classic tale. Her interviews, which frequently come across as dismissive of the original tale, have fueled fan frustrations. She has discussed how out of date the original is, supporting changes like removing the love story, sidelining the prince, and reimagining Snow White as a warrior figure for many. This strategy seems to be a total break from what initially made Snow White unique. It's no surprise that fans experience alienation. They will sum it up and fix it, but this isn't the story they grew up loving. Have no idea, so please don't make it strange. She's the one who actually initiates the kiss, so she's like asking him or something. In the end, I'm not sure, and this is precisely where South Park's satire goes deepest. By exaggerating Hollywood's trends, the Pandaverse episode shows how flimsy changes can obscure real storytelling, making viewers feel cut off from the very stories that are supposed to connect them. While this may be Disney's most recent headache, South Park has a long history of making fun of the company. The choice to cast Rachel Zegler as Snow White feels more like a calculated attempt to check diversity boxes than an authentic casting choice. Instead of garnering praise, it backfired and turned into a public relations disaster, with Zegler facing mockery and longtime fans of the original Snow White feeling completely alienated of Disney's approach to pop culture, including their famous parody of Star Wars following Disney's takeover and their notorious jabs at Mickey Mouse over the years, as well as the 2022 Streaming Wars episode that ridiculed the entertainment behemoth. Almost as common as their irreverent humor is Disney's role as a punching bag in South Park's. Disney is reportedly trying to reach an agreement with the writers of South Park to forgo future episodes that feature panda kindness and friendship, inner beauty versus vanity, and romance for Pete's sake, as it appears that these elements are absent in 2020. As a result, it appears that Disney may be looking to tone down the satire. Strangely enough, considering how heavily Disney depends on its meticulously maintained public image, many people were inquiring online about the source material. If the recent episode of South Park's unvarnished criticism of Mickey Mouse was bad, then this most recent one may be the most scathing yet, and for many fans, the problem isn't about advancing any political agenda. At its core, it's about respecting the stories that people love, and Disney is betraying the essence of these cherished tales in order to further an agenda that doesn't interest them. White became a classic for a reason, and by removing its romance, it was able to capture its essence and make it unforgettable. Fans don't want a remake of the original, they just want adaptations that honor the spirit of the classic while remaining new and relatable. Disney isn't modernizing the story, they're removing the very aspects that made it resonate with audiences. How do you feel about all of this drama? Post your opinions in the comments section below, and remember to click the subscribe button for more woke Disney and Snow White news. We'll see you in the next video.